Let's just talk a little bit about the session that we're about to listen to and participate in. We're going to learn about the science of influence and meaningful connection and communication. Now, of course, that's essential in our role as we try and help our clients to be comfortable with our role as advisors, or if we work in any form of intermediary role between advice and product. It's essential that we're able to communicate clearly. And that can be a challenge, to a degree, from time to time, to read the cues, to know how best to respond at different times. These things truly do affect the outcome, as we know, of the communication and the results that we and those that we're trying to assist are then able to achieve together. So it's my pleasure to welcome this morning Jane Wunderszitz, who's going to speak to us on this topic. She's an award-winning speaker and the founder of Wonder Training. Jane is renowned for her profound understanding of the psychological and sociological forces that are at play in each conversation that fuel peak performance and underpin high-performing teams and cultures. This morning, she will share insights into the fascinating field of science and influence and how they correlate to the connections we achieve together. It's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Jane. In our rapidly evolving world where communication and persuasion play an ever-increasing role, understanding the intricate dynamics of influence is more crucial than ever. Friends, please welcome to the stage Jane Wunderszitz. Thanks, Jane.
Well, I'm pretty delighted to be here today. I absolutely love a good conference, and I know that you're here today after potentially a night out. So well done, early morning start, and I just know that you're going to take some real nuggets of gold, so thank you so much for joining me. I think in the last few years when we had that little, that sea thing that happened in our world, the lack of conferences and seeing people's faces and being able to connect was something that we probably all missed. So I'm delighted to bring this to you today because I think it's probably one of my most favourite topics of the moment. So we're going to be heading into the science of meaningful connection and influence. Our ability to influence and our ability to connect is something we can all master. It's actually a skill set that some of you probably have already evolved in your journey. But the interesting thing is that for all of us, there's little things that happen, micro moments, that we may or may not recognise as being, just occur. When you have those connections and all of a sudden you think, it might only be a short interaction, but you just connected. And I bet you've probably had some of those during this conference. And it may have been over coffee. It may have been for those that were early morning boot campers. It may have been last night where you just have a little interaction with someone and you think, and you walk away, you kind of feel good about yourself. It was just to have a level of buoyancy in it. And you probably will remember them. And they would have made your event just that little bit better. So what we're going to look at is how often this happens and can we elevate that opportunity to connect more often? And science says we can. So today, I just want to shine a light on some of those things that many of you are probably doing already, but how can you do it more often? So you've also probably had, for those that are, I know in advising and consulting, sometimes you have someone that you've interacted with and they may or may not have used your service, but you made enough of an impression that they actually spoke to someone who was in need of, a financial advisor, wanted some advice, was talking about they couldn't get their act together, they were worried about their future, and they actually shared your details or a little bit about you. Hey, I know someone that, might be able to help you with that. And they may have actually shared it with someone else. So it's the mother, sister, friend, brother that sometimes it ends up, someone comes to you and they say, oh yeah, I heard about you through Sally. You think, Sally Fields. You can't think, I don't know, I can't think of a Sally Fields. But it wasn't Sally Fields. It was Sally Fields' mother and brother and sister, and this sort of thing happens. And we don't recognise sometimes that does happen, but it really does. So I'm Jane Wondersits. I'm the founder of Wonder Training. I absolutely love what I do. I think I'm completely blessed because I've chosen a journey that for the last 12 years I've worked with lots of different organisations, and I study whatever I want to study. I don't even have to do, I just pick out universities that are doing certain things and I meld it all together, but I do love a good bit of science. So my point of difference is evidence-based. So I'm going to share some things that have got a bit of weight behind them today. And I love a bit of neuroscience and positive psychology. I was really early bringing that into my workplace training. The other thing I love is I love people hitting their stride in peak performance as teams. I love really strong cultures that just make people grow. I love the theme, grow together. And I think that, hearing the speech this morning, it is about, kind of lifting that industry to a higher level. So we've all got potential for growth. So my first bit I'd like to share with you is actually about building high quality connections. So how do we do it? What happens in those interactions when all of a sudden you just feel, that was a really good connection, and you may or may not expect it, but you just hit it off. So I know that some of you are sitting a little bit solo, and I'd kind of like you, if you can, to shimmy up next to someone and partner up, because if you want to practice this, I really like people to feel it, and I promise to you it will be safe. I'm not going to push you out of your comfort zone in any way, shape or form. This is a really easy interaction. So if you can find someone, it makes it a bit more interesting, a bit more fun, and who knows whom you might actually connect with in this. So if you can just move, and I think most people are kind of sitting next to someone, just so we don't have, and it's looking good. If you can, I know that not everyone likes to sort of chat in these things, but do you know what? It actually will make a difference in your understanding. So the first thing that happens is we've got this beautiful piece of machinery up here, and this is, our little black box of insight, where we hypothesise, where we think things through, our magic box up here, which we call our brain. We don't often think about what's happening up there, but I can tell you one thing. It hasn't got a lot of objectives besides to keep you safe, and how it does that, keep me alive, keep me alive, keep me alive, is its number one job. And how it does that is through prediction. And it predicts. And it goes through and it sees things and it, monitors your world, and it goes, is this a reward, good thing, or is this a threat? Is this a reward, threat, reward, threat? And that's sort of its job, is to keep you safe, keep you alive. And you've got to remember that everyone is walking around with the same little sort of box with the same message, keep me alive, keep me safe. Is this a reward? Is this good? Do I lean into it? Or is this a threat? So I just want you to keep that in mind. Because whenever we interact with someone, if we can move from friend to foe pretty quickly, this first interaction, relationships and connection is about relationships. So if ever you're in an interaction with someone, allowing that little bit of time for a bit of buoyancy. So what I'd like you to do is, in a really short space of time, I want you to ask in your 2, or it can be a 3. So if you've got someone, potentially a 3, 2 or a 3, you can go over a seat if you wish to as well. I want you to come up with a couple of things that you have in common. Besides the fact that you're in Adelaide, besides the fact you're at this event, what else do you have in common? And just to sort of play with this for a little bit to get you thinking, I'm going to ask, who is from Adelaide? Is there some Adelaideans in the room? A few shows of hands. So the rest may be from interstate. Who is a dog person in the room? Hands up if you are a dog person. Who is a cat person? Less on the cats, that's interesting. I got a bit of both. Who is it? No animals. Any no animals? Not into them. No furry feasts in my house. And who, if you travel, goes for culture? Who goes for country camping? What sorts of things come up? But I want you to dig deeper than that. So once you get 2 things, I want you to go drive into one. So if you end up that you're both hikers, what hills have you climbed? Where do you go? Do you go with a company? Do you go by yourself? Do you go for morning? Do you go afternoon? So just dig a little bit deeper. Just 2 things in common, but come up with something fascinating. I want to know if you've jumped out of a plane. I want to know if you've been in a commercial. I want to know if at Woolworths, when you go shopping, that you like to look at that discount end. That's important. Okay, off you go, have a little chat and see what you come up with. Can I ask, is anyone bold enough to share? Did you come up with something that was pretty fascinating? I can imagine in this many people there was, wow. Did we have a wow? Hand up if you came up with something a little bit more interesting. Excellent.
Lachlan is a thespian and he's been in a commercial, so we used your example. He's also going to be on West Side Stories, doing a bit of a play. Ooh. He's not only a great financial planner, but an avid actor. And there we go. That was our little connection.
Yeah. Excellent. Beautiful. Someone else come up with something?
Just fun facts.
Sheila travelled alone in New York and had 3 days where she had a play at night and the matinee in the daytime. So she was on her own. So that was extraordinary, I thought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. One more.
Hi, ours maybe isn't as interesting as some of the others, but we haven't met before and realised we live in the same suburb, in the same state, a few streets away from one another. So
there you go. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. So, I could have sat, you could have sat next to anyone in the room and you found that out. So once you sort of get a little bit of an understanding of someone in a really short space of time, so if you're interacting, allow a little bit of space to kind of just connect. And that's a really important part of it, because know that our brain thinks until we actually kind of get a bit of a feel for this person, and if you have something in common, that's even more gold. It might be the same football team or anything. So Professor Jane Dutton spent her life's work studying what creates high quality connections. And she really came up with, there's probably, just two main things that actually come through. And I just want to share what they are. The first is that when you're actually in that interaction, you give your full attention. So as soon as you're with them, you're really, really with them. You think about anyone that you know well and you've got a high quality connection. If you bumped into them at this conference, you would have been, and you're there. And they would be there too. What then happens, you might have this little conversation, and what happens when they walk away, you kind of walk away and you feel good about yourself. And they feel good about themselves. So it's interesting. It's not only just that fully present, but you walk away feeling seen in a positive light. So what can you do to support people feeling seen in a positive light? That comes with, it's so good to see you. It's just saying things that often we don't. I love your humour, always great catching up. Or it might be, what a blast to see you again. It's just something that says, I've seen you and I've enjoyed you. That's really important, and sometimes we may not share that with enthusiasm. And it is that vitality and that energy that you actually bring into that connection. I actually had I was in Melbourne last week and I saw two people. I was sitting down having a coffee, saw two fellas walk up. Saw this, and then they walked away, and you almost, you saw them walk out, la 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 la, two-way interaction. And then when they walked off, they almost went, poof, and you could almost feel them sort of like, I think he said, lovely, he gave him a bit of a pat and said, great to catch up. But I thought, high quality connection. So there's two little things, being fully present, because that's what we do with people that we enjoy seeing. We give them a full intention. You remember little aspects about what they've been up to as well. But what happens in our brains in that moment is if they share something, they say, I'm feeling a bit tired this morning, or, yesterday was great. And if we actually feel the same emotion, we've got this emotional contagion that happens between our brains. So we've kind of got this bit of a Wi-Fi connection with people that we are in tune with. That only happens when we're fully present. So if they're sharing something, a pride moment or a happiness or something that's happened in their world or something that's just, a little bit, whether they love the coffee or not, we actually feel that emotion, which actually cements that connection. You know how people that you've got high quality connections, you feel that energy of when they're sharing something. That happens because you are fully attuned and you see these subtle differences in movement. The other thing is in high quality connections, they've got a bounce. They've got a rhythm. So in that interaction, hopefully, there was a bit of a rhythm. There was two people talking. And that's what happens. If it's ever one way, it's not a stronger connection. You have to have a level of, when they look at the flow, it's around about a 50-50. So think about your interactions that you have. It's not just about advising, it's actually about that shared conversation. So I work with all sorts of different organisations, and I always think, I get a bit blown away with what comes in my inbox. My girls are pretty excited. Next week I'm working with TikTok. I thought, wow, that's pretty exciting. My dad is more excited by Westcaf, the mining company. So it's kind of interesting when I share, who I'm working with. They get sort of different things rock different people's boats. But the thing is that I haven't actually paid a cracker for any marketing. And I think that's kind of mind-blowing. For a small business, started 12 years ago, haven't done any advertising. And I actually was influenced by the founder of The Body Shop, because I worked there for over a decade in leadership and training. And Anita Roddick said she didn't pay for any marketing. I didn't have any money for marketing, really, when I first started, but I thought, I'm just going to take a leaf out of that book, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it everything, share with passion, and do my absolute best at every engagement. And that has been my flow on from listening to someone else who was influential. But what I also see amongst that is there's really 4 things that come through when people are influential. And this is backed up by a study, Love Good Research by Gallup. It was done about 7 years ago. And there was about 30,000 people involved in the study, and it's why they follow. Why do they stay with people? Why do they follow? Why do they listen? And there's 4 reasons, and I think you'll probably resonate with these. The first is trust. They trust them. So trust has got a few components: your capability, your credentials, those sorts of things. Your reliability is kind of a way of building trust. Another thing is your character, who you are. Do they trust who you are? Do you know, we build trust by credibility and reputation, but where we break it is by character. If you're a bit hot and cold, sometimes you're really excited to see them, and sometimes you're a bit busy and you don't have that energy that you had last time. So character, or perhaps they would think that you've got an ulterior motive, you're trying to sell something to them, or you're linked with something, and that character, they think that there's a bit of a slither of something they're not sure about in that. So they question your character. So there's the 2 points of trust. The next thing that came through is compassion. Out of about 35 traits, why do you follow people? Because they have a level of compassion. So if people are coming to you, and if I walk in your door, and I say, been out with my own business for quite some time, haven't put enough super away, I'm just kind of feeling it. 15 years till I retire, time I really sorted got back together. And I might be looking for some compassion. It might be a little bit, to open up my financial books to you, might think, geez, what have you been doing with all your money? That's what I might think, but I might want compassion. So compassion came in at number 2. And that only comes with that attention and building empathy. The third they want is hope and optimism. They want someone who's going to sort of take them under their wing and say, this is where we're going. We can, with the support and the advice I'm going to give you, we're up here. They don't want someone who's going to say, oh, we could do this, we could do that. It's a tough surrounds at the moment. And I can imagine anyone in this room has a level of hope and optimism, because you want to influence and you want to take people up in their financial world and give good advice. The fourth one is the sense of stability. So stability is that you are consistent, Your organisation is consistent. You've got an image, you've got a presence, something that builds a level of reliability, trust, but stability is a consistency. They know what they're going to get. So they're the 4 things. So think about how, you can build those in. The second thing I want to talk about is positive influence. Now, did you get those little circles as you walked in? Everyone got a little circle? Have you got a pen? I'm going to get you to dig. If you haven't got a pen, ask your neighbour. They might have a spare. Because you do all need a pen for this next one. I promise it's worth doing a dig for your pen. Does anyone need a pen? We're all friends here. Put your hand up if you need a pen. And you've got your circle, and you're sitting next to somebody if you can, because you're going to need this person, because part of this is to experience a little bit of positive emotion. Because if you look at, I work with lots of teams, lots of organisations, positive culture isn't a myth. When you study neuroscience, highest performing leaders, when you study mental toughness, resilience, agility, appreciative inquiry, all of those areas, there's one common denominator, which is positive emotion. The most consistent factor in an innovative culture is positive interpersonal interaction. So when people come to you, it's got to have a level of buoyancy. It can't be too dry. So with your paper, I'm going to get you to experience some emotions. So you need to find a partner. Now you can do this in a 3, you just have to be very clever, and I'm sure you are. In a 3, you are going to work out, face your partner for a minute. Have you got your pen, your paper, and face your partner? You're going to want to do this. It's a 1-minute activity. I need to time you. I've got a timer down here. Oh, good. 4, 3, 2, excellent. Your role that you need to do, and I'm going to watch my timer down here, is you need to draw their face. Now, I love this. You have one rule that I need to share with you, is that you cannot look down at your page. None of this. None of this. So you need to look at that person's face. They're going to be smiling and drawing and thinking, oh, when is this minute over? But it will all be good. It is worth it. Are you ready? If you're in a 3, work out who's drawing who. I'm drawing you, you're drawing me, I'm drawing, yep. Are you ready? I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, both drawing at the same time. No looking down. You can start now. So whenever we have got this sense of emotion amongst us and in our brain, it actually does some pretty amazing things. It fuels our brain. The front part of our brain, our neofrontal cortex, is a bit like a Lamborghini. It needs really good fuel. And the fuel that you give when you've got a level of positive emotion, there's kind of a concoction of some neurochemical, it's like a good engine oil. And what it does, it actually allows you to hypothesize, to think, to be sharper, to be more perseverant, to connect better. And we have this, wave of interaction. So in this space, what happens, you're getting a good dose of dopamine. Any gym junkies in the room? Yep, couple around. So they get a good dose of dopamine when they go to the gym. They might walk in and think, oh, I really can't be bothered, but they walk out going, yes. So dopamine gives us energy. So positive emotion fuels us, and it actually, push. When you've had a good laugh, it picks up your energy. And then what happens is you also get a wave of oxytocin. Oxytocin helps to build trust and connection. So as soon as you've had a bit of a laugh or a bit of a light interaction, it actually pushes up, and it might be compassion, it might be kindness, it might be pride, but just experiencing something with someone else, we get this dopamine energy, we get oxytocin, and then what we also get is serotonin. Now I'll ask you in the room, has anyone ever had that time where they've said something that they wish they hadn't? Anyone done that? Yeah. Where it kind of flew out your mouth and you think, oh, why did I say that? Most often when that happens, you're not in a good mood. You know, if you ever notice that the mood that you're in, you know, sometimes we wouldn't have said it. Sometimes people think that we talk, you know, we're telling the truth in that space. We're not. We're actually not thinking well. Because serotonin actually helps us to access our memories and the best of, you know, how I've tried this situation before. We see different things. It influences our ability to learn, and it kind of helps us to regulate our emotions in response to that situation. We have higher social intelligence. So those three things add a good boost to that interaction. And you've probably all had a client come in who walked in and they're just going, you see as they walk in, they've got this energy with them. You want to read that and actually settle that person by a little light interaction before you start. Just to acknowledge that, you know what, oh, you know, and they might just want to share, and that's okay. But don't let them travel through your whole interaction in that place, because they're not going to think well. So you might have something that you think in your office or your desk that, you know, someone walks in with that. How do you shift that mood? And it might be a light story. The other thing about high quality connections, do you know what we share? Our pride stories. Who do you share your good stuff with? You share it with people that you've got a good connection. So if you start to share good stuff, guess what? All of a sudden they see you in a positive light. Helps to build that connection. I want you to read this next line, and it's put up on the slide deck intentionally with a little bit of a skew in there. But can you count the F's for me? How many F's do you see? Might be a test on your eyesight. So who in the room can see 3? Hands up if you can see 3. Who in the room can see 4? Yep, some 4s in the room. Who can see 5? Wow, now we're getting there. Yeah. Who can see 6? People can see 4 and 3 are going, what? So some can see 6. Some people have even told me recently they can see 7. Crazy. So amongst that, there's your 3. So for those that got 3, you can see those 3. The little ofs. So little things that happen can impact your level of influence. And you may not recognise them. And some that have been in the field for a while just seem to manoeuvre around these things without knowing what they are. So can you see the 6 there? And someone pointed out there is another one there down here. Oh my gosh, there's 8. Yeah. Who got 8? So it's the little things that make a big difference. So think about that initial connection, making sure that you're not rushing into stuff. Allow time to connect. As soon as you've got something in common, guess what? I'm a friend, I'm not a foe, we're all good, I'm ready. Noticing how people walk in, can you shift that emotional space? Because that's important for them to think well, to connect well. And can we bring this to a level of habits, where it just happens more consistently? So that's where we're heading. And this last little bit is shining a light on psychological safety. I mentioned it at the start that our brain, you know, a little box up here, keep me safe, keep me alive, keep me safe, keep me alive. Coming to see a financial planner, putting my financial world out on the table, that could be quite a threat for some people. Might be coming and thinking, what are they going to think? They might think I'm really not good with money. Or they might be referred by someone. I'm really excited. I can't wait to get in there. I've heard a lot about this person. I know that I'm in really good hands. So they walk in thinking, even from sitting out, if they're waiting for a bit, someone thinks, geez, they're taking a really long time. They're not very organised. They said my appointment was 10:30. How come that person's still going in? You know, there might be some threat out here because it's not what I expected. My appointment was at this time, and they've just gone into this, or perhaps they couldn't find a park and they're in this space where threat, I'm not feeling good here. So they're going to walk in with something. But sometimes you might have had a really good interaction, you think it's all going swimmingly, and all of a sudden, what's happened? The person's going, oh, well, I'm not sure about this anymore, and they've just gone, blah, blah, blah. You think, wow, we were doing so well. What happened? What happened? Or sometimes it might be right from the start. You think, gee, I'm finding this person hard to build this relationship with. Have you ever had that? You know, where it just felt good, but then it didn't feel good, and then something happened? Let's look at what happens here, because not only is this about reward, how do you build connections, it's also how do you, when someone's not warming to you in some way, or you say something in an interaction, why does that happen? And I can tell you, there's only 5 reasons. So in our goods up here, what happens is that if we have social interaction and someone says something, it can trigger us into a threat state. And it may just be a little comment that may have been unintended, but we can push people into a threat state just through that interaction. And do you know what? Our brain flares up in the same reason for a social threat. You've said something that sort of has, ruffled someone a little bit, and it may have been, you know what, this is the best decision. You're going to go, this is definitely where I would take you. They may think, hey, I want a bit of choice here. You're dictating to me. They might get that sort of resistance. Or sometimes, I don't really know, you haven't given me enough chance to think about it. And they sort of go, la, 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 and their brain goes, threat, rather than going, yeah, we're in, excellent, excited, which is what you want. So our brain actually feels like you've given them a bit of a punch. It doesn't know the difference. Same area of the brain goes, so sometimes in an interaction when someone said something, it can hurt as much as if they've got, gave you a little bit of a nudge in the arm. So here, let's look at, now it's interesting, I studied at Neurocapability. Neuroleadership has a different acronym. They all kind of mean the same thing. There's SCARE or there's SCARF. But know that there is 5 different triggers that we have as people. As I move through this, I want you to think about what might be yours, but also I've given you a good resource. Reflect on your clients, when you've connected well and when you haven't, and I bet you can see different things that you're doing to influence that connection. And some of them might be subtle differences that you're unaware of, and some of you have got very highly evolved at this. I want you to get better. So the 5 areas, as we're sort of walking through, they imagine they're walking through, they've got this little, brain thing happening, threat, reward. Instead of SCARE or SCARF, I think, why would they not change that to CARES? So I go with CARES. So think of your CARES, CARES. So in CARES, the first one is some of your people are going to walk in and they want certainty. They want certainty. Those people probably before they came in, they may have the morning looked at where they're going to park. They may have looked at where they're going to go. They would have got their map out. They would have, thought about that. They would have allowed enough time to get there so they would be there with time to potentially, even go in early. They'll be sitting in the waiting room because they have got certainty. I'm going to an appointment. I'm going to be there on time. I've made it. They get there and they want certainty. So if I thought about what their life question might be, and when they're doing the threat and reward, if you're high in certainty, I think your question would be, do I have clarity? So this person, if you're going to push them into a threat, they don't know what's going to happen. They're not sure where you're going with this, and they just want clarity. So at the start of the session, at the end of the session, they want to know what's happening and what the follow-on is and how things, and any time where you can provide, if you sort of say, oh, we could do this, no, I want to know exactly what you're thinking. They may even push you to guide them quite directionally. They don't want a bit of, they don't want this. They want, this is where I'm heading. This person, and if this is you in the room, chances are really loyal, loved follow through. The person who checked my slide deck definitely had certainty. She was amazing. I could feel the certainty radiate when she was going through them. She didn't miss a beat. You feel like policies and procedures, and you will, tend to be someone, perhaps, they've worked in, it might be government, they've probably had a career in the same field for a long time because they've had a level of certainty. They like to probably have the same sort of car, the same sort of house, lived in the same suburb. They just like certainty. So not a lot of change in there. So some threat triggers for them might be things like lack of information. If they don't feel that, that they're going to read all your brochures, they probably read your website diligently. They will like information. So have ample information for this person because they will divulge it because they like to have certainty. They don't like anything unpredictable. So if they're not sure where you're going, or if you get up and you start to sit next to them, they think, what are you doing? So you just need to share what the plan ahead is and give them a really good roadmap. You may even have literally a roadmap of this is how we move through this. And what's going to happen is, today I want to get to know you a little bit. Then we're going to get some data. Then we'll go through and we'll do some goal setting. Then we might do, go into the sort of planning bit and we'll pull things together. But they want to know, this is what happens with a level of certainty. They don't like it if you change appointments. They don't like it if you're running late. They like everything to run as expected because that gives them a level of certainty. Are you one of those people? Hands up if you think you might have a bit of certainty. I reckon that in some of your clients, can you see your clients in here that want certainty about their financial future? They're coming to you because I want to know that I'm going to be all right. I want to come to the best advice, so that's what I'm here for. So what might trigger them if to feel uncertain is things that, is not allowing questions. So they will like to actually have an opportunity to ask questions. They're also going to want clarity in details. They may want to take notes. So if you notice at start, they've said, what I really want to get out of this is, and they're really looking for certainty, you'll hear it. And if they go into a threat space, I'm not really sure where this is going, or I'm not sure about, they start to go, I'm not sure. I want clarity, I want clarity, I want clarity. Give them clarity. That's what they're seeking. No need for rush decisions. Sometimes they might like a little space to decide. And that's okay, you haven't lost them. They will come back, but they like being given an opportunity to reflect. They want to make the right decision is the big thing for certainty. Now, if you've got your own practice, you'd be entrepreneurial, put your hand up. You may have high autonomy. Part of, I just have noticed that quite often they can be business owners. I've got high autonomy. So high autonomy, your question would be, do I have choice? Is this where we're going? So it's kind of a little bit different to certainty. Certainty wants, you tell me exactly what you want, how I'm going to get there. I want all of your advice, everything. What would you do in this situation? What would you do? What would you do? They want certainty. If they have got autonomy, they want to have a choice. Give me a couple of options. Let me think about it. They just want to be in a shared decision making. They want to be part of the movement through. Have you thought about this? They want to be a really kind of like a bit of teamwork there. But ultimately, I want to make my own choices. So they'll come wanting to make their own choices. They don't like being micromanaged. So if you go too heavy on the detail, that can just drive them nuts. I know when I meet with my mother-in-law, and I love her dearly, but she often will sort of say, we're meeting here. Now, what you need to do, Jane, if you go up Anzac Highway and you go down this way and you go this way and you go this way and you go this way, she wants certainty that I'm going to be there, I'll be on time. And I just think, do you know what? All good. I'll just chuck it in Google and, I'll be there. But I just think, I don't need the detail. So these people don't necessarily need the detail. They actually want to sort of have a little bit of a thinking space in there as well. So too much detail and process will probably fluster them, and they'll feel a bit railroaded. Now, there will always be choice. So just to open up, where is their choice? What does the choice look like in your industry? What can you do to, make sure that it's a joint decision, but fundamentally their decision wholeheartedly that they've actually got choice? So they might need a couple of paths. They could go this way, or they could go do this way. Can you recognise those clients? Yep. Would this be you? For those that are business owners, I'm just interested. Can see some nods there. So autonomy have high level initiative. They've probably come in with some ideas of their own on what they're thinking. They may have sort of, looked around, but they're quite big picture generally. They know where I want to get. Give me a bit of some thinking. We'll work through it together. That's where they like to sort of tend to look. If they're working on anything, they deliver it without little oversight. They're used to kind of running their own ship a little bit. Supporting with autonomy is just recognising where can they have choice. So if you start to think, if they start to go threat, do I get any choice in this? What are the other options? They'll be looking for options. They want to know that there's a bit of a place of where do I paddle here? What am I looking at? Give me some information. I want to make a choice. So high in autonomy, would it suit you if we went through da-da-da-da-da? Just giving them choice. So often it's in that little subtlety in language. Is it okay if we go through this now? That just gives them a little bit of a choice. Do you want to hear about this or do you want to hear about this? Which option are you leaning into? So opening up the choice. That's going to be a different interaction for the person who wants certainty. If you give them too many choices and you start going this and this and this and this, they go, I don't know, it's too hard. So the third one is relatedness. And for some of you that are big connectors, relatedness may be high for you already. So to think about what is your core, if they had a question, it would be, do I belong? They're coming to you and they're coming to your firm because you are you and you are your firm. They may have been referred, but they would have sort of thought about who they are going to. Who? It's about people and it's about connection. So these people, when they come through, will be a little bit different. That first interaction is going to be really important. They're going to be really loyal because of you. Can you think of your clients that are like that? They just love you. They're high in relatedness. If they didn't like you, they wouldn't stay with you. So it's actually the people component that's actually really important. These are the people that are going to love it if you get out from behind your desk and you actually go and sit, and you have a real conversation. And if you remember what their kids are doing, and if you remember, anything that they've said, they're going to want to connect. Use we language. What we can do here. You're on my side. We're in this together, is what they want. We language. If you use we language the whole way through in interactions, not I. It's not about I think you should do this. What we could do. Subtle differences make a big difference. We. Show loyalty to those not present. They don't like people that are gossips. If you're putting other people down or, industries down or even people in your same field down or people that haven't got smart down, into their financial thing, they don't like that. They like to feel that you are someone who actually embraces people and doesn't have lots of conflict in your world. So try not to share if you've got stuff going, anything gossipy. No one likes gossipy people because then they wonder whether you're going to gossip about them. But they like people that are, very much we-spirited, that actually have a level of respect for the industry, respect for all clients. That's really important to them. They don't like divides, they don't like silos, and they don't like gossips. So show loyalty to anyone who's not present, and they like regular connect sessions. So sometimes in different industries they work to the clock, and they really want to sort of get people through. And you might think that that person is time poor, and I like to get people through. Some people actually really need that space to connect. And so that will be as important as your information. Because I'll only trust that information if I trust you. Trust is big, but for relatedness, it is all about you. And they'll even notice, and I would recommend that you all have some sort of personal photo on your desk. Change it every now and then. They are the people that will notice, you went to such and such. Oh, what a beautiful photo. And it might be family. It might be your dog. They will comment on that because that's a part of knowing you. A holiday picture. They like to sort of feel that they actually are they see a glimpse of your world. Anyone a relatedness person that likes to talk about that sort of stuff? Yep. So if you're high in relatedness, this understanding of people is actually really important. So us versus them is a trigger. Conflict will unsettle them. Dropping any connection points, they actually like those meetings. You're not speeding them up by, doing it by phone. They'll actually want to come in. They want to connect with you. So just to remember use we often. And then we have this one, equality. I'm sure that you have some contracts and some things that people need to sign in your agreements. Anywhere where they feel that their question is this fair? Do I get the same amount of time with you as this person? If they see someone walk out and someone's gone in for a really long time, they think, is that fair? When you met with someone else, did they get the same level of attention as what you get? So this is all about fair. It's about transparency, not feeling like they've been stitched up in any way, shape or form, that you're going to be completely transparent in your thoughts, your feeling and your advice. They don't like little bits on the contract that are very small in writing. They want to know what that is. So they like policies, they like procedures, they like equality, they like fairness, they like to consider that you are going to be treating them with the high regard that you would treat a millionaire walking in. Irrespective of where you are, there's no level of difference in your service across those that you deal with. They don't like a lack of transparency is their big thing. Now, our last one, I think you probably have some of these. And you may also be one of these in wanting to elevate across your career. It's status, or in some neuroscience places, it's called significance. And please don't underestimate the power of this. It's actually what gets people to rise to the top. With this, quite often, their question would be, do I matter in the eyes of others? So they've probably had some credentials, high credentials. They might have moved through positions. They've had a level of presence and a level of influence in their life. Can you think of these people? And it may well be you. Yep. So with that, they may share what school or what school they went to. They may share something about their study or university. They may share some of their prestige with you. And they are competitive. They're a good networker. They may name drop some people that know of you or you may know in their history and their movements. They're a good networker. They can overperform to impress. So sometimes they may have, really sort of exert themselves. They may want to take it to that next level. They want to be your high achiever. They want to be your success story. Have you had some of those? Can you recognise that? And it may well be you that is the high flyer amongst here. So giving advice to someone in that space, you kind of have to be gentle as well. So would it be okay if you walk me through how you got to this place? Would it be okay? Again, asking permission is psychologically safe. Is it okay so you're actually asking permission? Anytime in that journey you ask for permission, it makes it safe, and you're also giving them a level of significance. These people are also likely to look at your certificates. So some of you may be quite humble, and you've done lots of incredible stuff, and you may not have your PD, talk about the conference, all of those sorts of things that you're actually, you're a mover and shaker. They're going to want to know that. But they will look at your certificates. They will look at those, little plaques on your wall. So don't be shy on putting things up. Some people that have got humility think, I don't need that up there. That's all, kind of, a bit wanky. But for someone with significance, they will, okay, you went to this, you went to that. It's just all about a little bit of prestige. That's why I put up that slide, which, sometimes I think I feel a bit of a goose, but I put it up because it adds to, for those with significance, it helps to build connect. So help them with status gain. It's really about how do you get them to where they want to go? What is their vision? What is their path? And you want them to be a hero. You want them to actually excel. You want to be with them. They're still a we. You know what? We're going to get you to this place that they want to go. And they will work very hard at that, and they will be a success story, and they will also advocate for you. All of these will advocate for you, but they'll advocate differently. The status will advocate that you've had this incredible success, and they'll work with you on that. The relatedness, they're going to boost that. The fact is, you're a great person. The certainty is that they will advocate that, you know what, they were so good. They took me through the whole process. You know, they really helped with that decision. I felt really clear on what was happening. That will be their story. For the one with fairness, will say, you know, I was a bit worried, you know, that they, they're on it, you know, they're spruiking different parts or they're connected. But you know what? They were really, thought about my situation, and it was really transparent on what they were advising. So you can see their referrals will be quite different. And for those that have created a level of momentum, a level of success, you're doing these things without recognising it. I want you to just chat to the person next to you for a minute. Which one resonated with you? Because chances are we have a different hierarchy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might have a couple that are high, but I just want you to have a chance to reflect on what do you think for you was important out of those? And perhaps also what do you see in your clients? Have a little discussion. Could you pick one for you? They are in your resources as well if you want to have a look. I'd love to have a little bit of a hand poll. I could have put this in as a poll, but can you tell me if you sort of identified that perhaps certainty was one of your who was high in certainty, just so we can sort of see what's across the room, so I can see quite a few hands in certainty. Did anyone have high autonomy, that doesn't like being micromanaged and likes a choice? Yep. So you will offer choice. There was actually quite a lot of hands in that one. Did anyone have high relatedness, that it's the people factor about connect, and they're a really good connector, and then when they feel like they connect, that is very strong. What about fairness, that they like to have transparency? They're very good on illustrated transparency. Anyone fairness? Yes. You know, that they will share anything that is, potentially they might look at and be concerned about. And what about status, the high drivers did anyone have high status? Interesting. I'm sure that there's a lot of status in the room, but you're not putting your hands up. But it's one of those ones that people don't like to recognise. But the fact is, it's a real driver for good networking. Ambitious. They're like a racehorse. So interesting to see that, and just to think about your clients. Now, nothing happens unless you actually start to put that in. So I've given you a good handout in your resources. I do want you to print that off, and just in the next couple of weeks, just start to, when you've had an interaction, think about afterwards what the drivers are, because nothing happens unless you build it into the habits of your interaction. Start to use we more often. Make sure you're doing that really clear roadmap at the start, and see if they want to, fast track through that, or if that's actually really fascinating to them. Making sure that you're allowing for questions. So my last little bit on building influence is, you know what, there's a reason why you're in the room, and there's a reason why you do what you do. And sometimes, we can keep that a little bit close to our heart, and there's a real passion for what you do. Being able to help people in their financial journey. For some reason, my girls at the moment are 18 and 19. And I remember I grew up in the country. I grew up from a farm, but I remember that I came down to boarding school. But at 17, I actually lived out of home, and there was a point where you kind of got cut off, and it was a bit earlier than what I thought. And I remember thinking, oh my God, it's really full on, paying for your rent and having to being really responsible and all of those sorts of things. But I remember thinking, gee, no one taught me about this, and I remember feeling that. Interestingly, I'm 3 generations of, my mum had her business, I've got my business, and my 19-year-old daughter has her business. She does lash technician. She does the lovely lashes, and I'm feeling unlashed today, so I'm not advocating for her because I got a book in. She's so busy. Way, way better first year in business than what I had. Absolutely entrepreneurial. But 3 years, and I just think for her, gee, I really want to set her up to be more business savvy in the financial aspects of business before I started, but also she's just gone out and bought a BMW, so she's doing pretty well. I thought, who gave her the money for that? She organised that herself, so she is probably a bit more status-driven. She likes fine things, she likes pretty lashes, and she's damn good at her job. So she's going to be very driven. And to get financial advice into that early stage of business, I think is actually really, really important. Why do you do what you do? And there's a reason. There was a choice at some point you made to go this way, this way, this way. This is what I love. I want you to share with the person next to you, because often we feel it, but we don't share it. And it's really important that you share that with your clients, because one of the biggest catalysts of influence is they want someone who actually likes what they do, actually loves what they do, actually it rocks their world and they feel alive by what they do. So I'm going to give you a minute. Why do you care? Because when you look in any sort of customer service interactions, the biggest thing people want, they want to be listened to, they want to feel heard. So listen to and feeling heard is kind of different things. But the biggest thing that takes it to 5-star, they want to know that you care. You are in the right field and you absolutely care about them. So I want you to share with the person next to you, really, and give it a bit of oomph and a bit of passion. Why do you do what you do? Often we feel it, but we don't share it. Make sure that you share the reason you do what you do, because that can be something that actually just opens up that world, that one little thing that people say, you know what, they are really passionate. I love the fact that they actually love what they're doing. And some of you may feel it, but you just don't share it. It's really, we want people that care for us, that really love what they do. And do you know what? In today's world, you don't often get that. People that just are coming awake and love what they do each day. So it can be quite inspiring and influential when you hit someone who actually, you know what, I chose this because I actually really want to see people succeed. And there may be a collection of different reasons why that is. But share it. So we've gone through a little bit of a journey. We started with building high quality connections. The two things that happen, fully focused and attention, actually builds this little energy connect that you can't get on phone calls, you can't get through email. It's actually this emotional contagion that you actually feel connected that only happens when you are fully present. When they leave, you make sure that you've actually said the things that you think. If you've actually had a good connection, just say, oh, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed, meeting with you. Just make sure that's reiterated, that you actually say the things that you think. Often it just pops into our head and you think, that was great, but you don't say it. So make sure we say it, because that's what high quality connections are. Make sure there's two-way interaction. No railroad trains amongst it. It's actually a two-way conversation. Make sure that there's a vibrancy to it and it's positive. Read the energy as they walk in, and do you need to shift it? Do you need to actually come out from behind and say, hey, let's just have a chat for a minute, and shift that energy? You might even get them a water if you think they've had a bit of a journey in there. And then to think about that interaction. And if you start to notice, just by using the wheeze and the little interaction stuff that will actually help to build that manoeuvre through the first bit, guide me through, offering choice. If you feel like they're going threat, you go to certainty. I'm hoping that that's given you some little bit of extra guidance on some things that may help you, or more often than not, it's just shone a light on some of those things that you do anyway and the reason why they work. For those that actually push through to peak performance, it's because they go to events like this, they actually put it into play. Nothing happens unless you revisit it and you actually think about it. And I can bet amongst your family members, I can pick, my other half has got autonomy, Scarlett has got significance, she's the BMW driver, Molly has got relatedness, she's all about people. So people that you'll start to see it. and it just becomes part of how you deal with it. It'll probably, filter down, just become part of your interactions. That is it from me. I hope you've enjoyed and got some goods out of that session, and you can put it into play. Thank you so much for your attention, your engagement, and lovely to be here.